There is a number that sounds impossible until you see the math. $10,000 in 6 months on a completely normal American salary. No side hustle that requires 15 extra hours a week. No crypto, no risky bets, no inheritance, no lucky break. Just a system. A specific, sequenced, almost boring system that the vast majority of people who actually reach this number used, and that almost nobody talks about because it does not make for exciting content. Most financial content either tells you it is impossible to save that much that fast, or it tells you the secret is some extreme version of frugality that nobody can actually sustain. Both of those are wrong. And in the next 16 minutes, I'm going to show you exactly why. Warren Buffett has a phrase he uses constantly. He calls it the snowball. A small amount of money rolling down a long hill, picking up more snow as it goes. Most people think the snowball takes years to become meaningful. What almost nobody realizes is that the first 6 months of that snowball, if you build it correctly, can produce a number that completely changes how you see your entire financial life. $10,000 is not just a number. It is the threshold where Vanguard research shows your financial well-being jumps significantly. It is the number where most people stop feeling like they are one emergency away from disaster. And it is the number where, for the first time, the math of compound interest starts to feel real instead of theoretical. If you are new to this channel, subscribe right now. Every week I take the principles that built Warren Buffett's fortune and translate them into systems that work on a normal income, in plain English, with real numbers and zero filler. Let me show you the math first, because the math is what makes this believable. $10,000 in 6 months means you need to save and invest approximately $1,667 per month. For most Americans, hearing that number creates an immediate reaction. That sounds impossible on my income. But here is what I want you to understand. That number is not coming from one source. It is coming from 4 separate sources, each of which is individually achievable, and which together compound into something that feels impossible until you break it apart. The first source is what I call the baseline redirect. The average American household, when they do a genuine audit of their spending, finds between $300 and $600 per month in what we talked about in a previous video, the invisible tax. Subscriptions, forgotten charges, premium tiers, lifestyle creep. If you have not done that audit yet, pause this video, do it, and come back. It takes 45 minutes, and it is the foundation for everything else in this video. Let us be conservative and say your audit finds $400 per month. That is source number 1. $400, redirected from waste into savings with zero change to your actual lifestyle. The second source is what I call the temporary sacrifice window. This is the part most people get wrong because they think building wealth requires permanent sacrifice. It does not. What it requires is a temporary, time-boxed sacrifice with a clear end date. For 6 months, not forever, 6 months, you make 3 specific changes. You reduce dining out and food delivery to once per week instead of the American average of 4.5 times per week. For the average household, this saves approximately $300 per month. You pause one major discretionary category. This could be a vacation fund contribution, a hobby expense, or a shopping budget, for 6 months only. For most people, this is somewhere between $150 and $250 per month. And you commit to a no-spend weekend once per month, where you spend $0 on anything beyond fixed bills for 48 hours. This typically saves another $75 to $100 per month. Combined, the temporary sacrifice window produces approximately $500 to $600 per month, and because it has a defined 6-month end date, it does not trigger the same psychological resistance that permanent lifestyle changes do. Your brain can tolerate almost anything if it knows exactly when it ends. The third source is what I call the income activation layer, and this is where most 6-month wealth-building plans completely fail, because they only focus on cutting and never address the income side at all. Here is the thing about income activation that nobody tells you. You do not need a second job. You do not need 15 extra hours a week. You need one specific, time-boxed income action that most people are sitting on right now without realizing it. This could be selling items you no longer use. The average American household has between $1,000 and $3,000 of resellable items sitting unused, and platforms make this faster than ever. This could be a single, skill-based freelance project, even 5 to 10 hours per month, doing something you already know how to do, at $50 to $100 per hour, produces $250 to $1,000 per month. Or this could be requesting a schedule change at your current job that adds modest overtime hours during this 6-month window specifically. The key word is specific. Not I should make more money. Specifically, this 6-month window, I am doing this one activity, which produces this estimated amount. Vague income goals never materialize. Specific, time-boxed income actions almost always do, because they remove the decision paralysis that kills most side income attempts before they start. A realistic conservative number from this source for most people is $200 to $400 per month. The fourth source is the one Warren Buffett would consider the most important, and it is the one almost nobody includes in their calculation. It is the windfall capture rate. Over any 6-month period, the average American receives at least one unplanned windfall. A tax refund, a work bonus, a rebate, a gift, reimbursement for an expense, cash-back rewards that accumulated. Research shows the average American receives between $800 and $2,000 in some form of windfall over a 6-month period, and the vast majority of it, over 90%, gets absorbed into regular spending within 30 days, without the person consciously deciding to spend it. Warren Buffett's entire philosophy on windfalls is simple. He treats unexpected money exactly the same as expected money, meaning it gets allocated according to a plan, not according to impulse. The plan for this 6-month window is one rule. 100% of any windfall goes directly to your $10,000 goal. Not 50%, not I'll save half and treat myself with the rest. 100%. If you average just $1,000 in windfalls over 6 months, which is on the conservative end of the research, that is approximately $167 per month added to your total. Now let us add up all 4 sources. $400 from the baseline redirect, $550 from the temporary sacrifice window, $300 from income activation, $167 from windfall capture. 400 plus 550 plus 300 plus 167 equals $1,417 per month. That is close to our target of $1,667, but not quite there. And here is where the 5th element comes in, the element that makes the entire system work even when the first 4 sources fall slightly short. It is the investment return on the money you have already saved. If you are putting this money into a high-yield savings account, earning 4 to 5% annually, or a money market fund, the money you saved in month 1 is earning return by month 2. The money from month 2 is earning return by month 3. By month 6, your accumulated balance of approximately $8,500 from the first 5 months is generating real, calculable return. At an average of 4.5% annually on an accumulating balance, this produces approximately $15 to $25 in month 6 alone. It sounds small, But combined with the slight natural variance in your four sources, some months your audit finds more than $400, some months your windfall is larger than expected. This is exactly the kind of gap filling that gets most people from $1,417 to the full $1,667. And if you genuinely cannot close that gap completely, here is what I want you to understand. $9,500 in 6 months is not a failure, it is extraordinary. The number 10,000 is a target, not a cliff. The system works even when you hit 95% of it. Now let me give you the week-by-week structure, because the difference between people who succeed at this and people who do not is almost never the math. It is the structure. Week 1, you do the full expense audit. This is non-negotiable and it is the foundation. You identify your baseline redirect number specifically, not approximately, specifically, and you set up the automated transfer for that exact amount. Week 2, you choose your 3 temporary sacrifice categories specifically, not "I'll spend less on food," specifically. Dining out reduced to Friday nights only, specifically. Vacation fund paused until month 7. Specifically, first Saturday of each month is a no-spend day. Write these down. Put them somewhere visible. Week 3, you identify and begin your income activation action. List the items you are selling and set a deadline to have them listed within 7 days. Or reach out about the freelance opportunity, or request the schedule change. This week is about starting the engine, not finishing the project. Weeks 4 through 24, the remaining 5 months, you are executing. The automated transfers are happening. The temporary sacrifices are in place. The income activation is producing its monthly amount. And every windfall that arrives gets moved within 48 hours before it has a chance to be absorbed. Warren Buffett has said that the big money is not in the buying or the selling, but in the waiting. For this 6-month system, the big money is not in any single brilliant decision. It is in the boring, repetitive execution of 4 ordinary actions every single month, without exception, for 6 months. I want to address something directly, because I know some of you are thinking it. You are thinking, this sounds like a lot of restriction for 6 months. It is. I am not going to pretend otherwise, but here is the comparison that matters. The average American, over those same 6 months, with no plan and no system, will typically see their savings stay flat or decline, while their subscriptions creep up, their lifestyle slowly expands to match their income, and any windfalls disappear into spending they cannot specifically account for afterward. The choice is not between 6 months of restriction and 6 months of comfort. The choice is between 6 months of intentional, time-boxed, specifically planned action with a $10,000 result, or 6 months of unconscious drift with no result at all. The 6 months are happening either way. The only question is what you have to show for them on the other side. And here is what most people do not realize about reaching $10,000 specifically. It is not just an emergency fund anymore. Once your true emergency fund, your first $1,000 plus typically 2 to 3 months of essential expenses, is established, the remaining portion of that $10,000 becomes your first real investment capital. This is the threshold where Warren Buffett's actual strategies become accessible to you. Index funds. The beginning of a real portfolio, the start of the snowball that 20 and 30 years from now becomes the kind of number that genuinely changes a life. The person who reaches $10,000 through this 6-month system is not the same person who started it. Not because the money changed them, because the proof that they could execute a specific plan for 6 months straight with measurable results changed how they see every future financial decision. Subscribe if this gave you a real plan instead of vague motivation, and drop a comment below telling me which of the 4 sources feels most realistic for your situation right now. The baseline redirect, the temporary sacrifice window, income activation, or windfall capture. I read every single one, and your answer tells me exactly what to break down further in next week's video.